everybody, I thought we'd start a little mini series where I read out some articles or interesting news stories I have found that are biological or zoological science related, and we can either deep dive into it together or just laugh at the story. So here is our first story. So our first story comes from the New Scientist, and it's from the 5th of August 2023. So I thought we would read this one. It's quite funny, and I think because summer has finally arrived here in England and it's a little bit warm now, I think we can all relate. So let's get into it. So lizards put less effort into courting when it gets hot. So spiny larva lizards spend less time wooing and choosing partners more hastily in hotter temperatures. Nicola Rossi at the National University of Cordoba in Argentina and his colleagues wondered if spiny larva lizards change their courting behaviour to cope with increasing heat. They do push-ups around the rocks they guard to signal their ability, says Rossi. It requires a lot of energy. The lizards also bob their heads to attract mates. I certainly know that I, for one, am not going to be out here doing push-ups when it's hot. Let's be honest with ourselves. No, that sounds horrendous. The researchers studied lizards from two nearby areas of a nature preserve in Argentina. One group lives in sunny, rocky outcrops with an average temperature of 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. The other in a zone with lots of shady trees that was around 26.5 degrees Celsius and 80 degrees Fahrenheit on average. The reptiles in the warmer area were less active during the hottest midday. Next, the researchers brought 42 males and 35 female lizards into the lab and gave them their choice of two mates behind a glass barrier. Some lizards were in a normal climate, while the others were in environments 2 to 4 degrees warmer than usual. Male lizards did just as many push-ups regardless of the temperature, but while some kept bobbing their heads, when it got hotter, the others gave up. Females of the species typically opt for males with the most colourful flanks, but at the highest temperature, their preference vanished. If they are choosing their mates randomly, they're not choosing the best mate, says Rossi. Females also did fewer head bobs when it got hotter. This could affect how well the species adapt to climate change. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to read out this story anyway. One, it's a bit of fun, really. I love science. I love scientists. I am a scientist myself. And scientists have got their niche down. So to spend all of your time looking at these lizards in a laboratory and changing the temperature and seeing how it affects their behaviour seems just like a silly thing to do, like a nice to have. But actually, when you break it down and you consider it, what we're actually looking at here is how our species is going to adapt to climate change. So when temperatures start to change and it starts to get hotter, how are species going to adapt to their environment? And so what this news story has told us is that these lizards demonstrate less of their mating type behaviours when they get hotter. They just can't be bothered. They're too hot to do it. And so what is this going to lead to? It can be one of two things. One, they will breed less, and so the species will decline, or they might adapt and either adapt completely, and so they continue to do their courtship behaviours regardless of the heat, or those who are more heat tolerant will be more successful at breeding, and so will produce babies that are more heat tolerant, and so that will sort of continue the species. Or they could adapt in a way where their courtship behaviour slightly changes, so they don't behave as actively as they did when the temperatures were cooler, and that becomes the new normal, and that becomes the new thing. Quite often when we're looking at animals and courtship behaviours and things, we are looking at female choice. So the female chooses her mate based on whatever it is that their species is sort of known to base their thing on. So with this one, clearly the males do some push-ups and show they've got some guns in there, but they also do this head bobbing routine, which the females seem to appreciate. So will females then, because they themselves are too hot to conduct this courtship behaviour, will it then reduce it in the males? So we have a silly story about lizards doing push-ups, but actually it comes back round to hotter temperatures, and if animals are going to be able to adapt and survive in our changing climate. So let me know what you thought of this story. I thought we'd just do a little series on. I'd pick out some funny stories or some nice stories that we find that are to do with science, and just I'll read them out to you and we can discuss it. So that's my opinion. Let me know your opinion in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen? Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this little short video. I hope you enjoy this series, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.